Well, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And, well, the last month or so has been kind of off and on, mainly because of the weather, and also it's that time of year here at Bob's Market. This is the peak of our spring growing season, which, if you look outside, it may not seem like it because, there's snow on the ground. And right now, we're growing the seedlings and basically the starts that we're going to transplant and grow into finished product that you'll find in our stores later on this spring. So today I thought we would start off with a little bit of a greenhouse update. So a few weeks ago, we traveled down to our field house location and took a look at the plants that we grow from cuttings. And today we're going to get an update on those same plants. So let's check that out. A few weeks ago, we were down at our field house location, taking a look at some of the first cuttings of the season. And cuttings are what they sound like. They are cuttings off of a mother plant that we stick into soil and grow roots on them. And it takes a few weeks for them to take root and to be ready to transplant. And behind me, we have the baskets that have been created from those transplants. Now, these won't be ready for sale until around Mother's Day, April, May timeframe. But right now, they're just getting started. And since these are larger hanging baskets, it takes a longer amount of time to grow them. So let's take a look at them now. And it has three different types of plants in it. It has, let me look at the tag here. It has Petunia Sunspun Yellow, Calibrachoa Cabaret Deep Yellow, and Verbena Firehouse White. And in our last video, we actually saw the verbena getting trimmed. And what that does is it encourages it to branch out. So you can see here where it is now started to branch off into multiple branches. And that's part of the effect of trimming them. One bay over here in this greenhouse, we have smaller 10-inch baskets of just single Calibrachoa varieties. So all of these baskets are just one single collar. And right here in front of me, we can actually see some of the blooms. This is a variety called, it's Calibrachoa Ombre Blue. So much like our fern baskets, we're growing these kind of packed together on the floor for right now. And then later on, once they start to fill out, we're going to move them up to drip tubes. And in this greenhouse, there are drip tubes directly above. So these most likely will get moved up to there, and then that'll open up the floor space for more crops. For this and other great information, visit us online at bobsmarket.com. And that's what's happening out in the greenhouse right now. And, today I wanted to talk a little bit about Mother's Day. Mainly so any guys that are watching, you've got what? Basically this week to figure out a gift. So I wanted to give you a heads up. But also, I wanted to look at some rose alternatives. Because for Mother's Day, I mentioned Mother's Day in the video. For Valentine's Day, there's a lot more choices beyond roses. And I wanted to take a look at those and some of my top picks. And I also wanted to kind of break it up by flower type. Because sure, you can get cut flowers, but they don't last. So there's obviously cut choices, but then there's also potted plants and house plants and things that you could potentially plant out in your landscape that you could get this time of year as a gift. So I thought we would take a look at some of those. And before we do, of course, if you're new to watching Bob's Live, we're on every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And you can find Bob's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and we're also over on TikTok. But if you're watching right now and you're not a subscriber, either like our page if you're watching us on Facebook so you can get notifications when we go live, or if you're watching over on YouTube, subscribe to our channel so you can watch our live show, and then we also upload other videos over on our YouTube channel. So, well, let's take a look at some Valentine's Day flower alternatives. So, roses are kind of the classic Valentine's Day flower, but here are some great alternatives. And first up, I've kind of grouped them according to the type of plant, or how you would normally buy them this time of year. So first up, I've got a couple different cut flowers. And first of all, I have tulips. They make a great choice. And they do kind of have that rose shape to them. So if you're not really adventurous, but you want to do something different, tulips are a great option. Up next, we have carnations. And carnations are another great choice for cut flowers when it comes to Valentine's Day. And, they are just beautiful. They're kind of lacy. So if you have, a significant other that is into sort of the farmhouse style, cottage core, that sort of thing, carnations are a great way to go. And next I want to get into potted plants. And this is one that we tend to think of in fall, but you can also find them in the springtime, and that is chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums make a great choice for Valentine's Day. And as I said, you can buy them as a potted plant, and that gives you extended time inside with them. And then also you have the potential of being able to transplant it outside once the weather improves. So chrysanthemums are a great choice for that. Up next, along those same lines, is cyclamen. And that's a common potted plant that you'll find in garden centers, especially this time of year as the weather starts to warm up, because traditionally cyclamen are considered a cool weather plant. They like cool springtime temperatures. And because of that, they've mostly been relegated to kind of a potted gift plant, that you can set out in your house, and it makes a nice kind of temporary house plant that you can also take outside on those spring days. But they're not very frost hardy, so you have to watch out with that. But they're also not heat tolerant. So that's always sort of made them kind of not an option for your landscape going into summertime. However, I was putting this show together today and putting my slides together, and I happened to get a copy of one of our industry magazines. It's a Greenhouse Grower magazine, and in it this month, in this month's issue, they have an article on cyclamen, and it says today's cyclamen take the heat. And they're developing varieties of cyclamen for landscape use. So I think that's going to be pretty awesome. And also, they make a great Valentine's Day plant because the blooms on them, um, it's kind of hard to describe the bloom shape, but if you look at them from the right angle, they kind of look like little hearts. Okay, so those are some potted varieties. Um, we also have in the pot, and then also this kind of gets us into houseplant territory. Um, that's, extremely long lived. You can save them for years, which is a great idea for a Valentine's Day gift. Um, you can buy a gift and enjoy it for years to come, and it just brings back the memories of when you gave that gift, and it's a great idea. But orchids are a great house plant, and they're a great option for Valentine's Day. And also, typically this time of year, you start seeing them in garden centers. Up next is actually two plants, but they're so closely related, I'm going to count them as one. And this one, depending on your relationship, it may send the wrong signal, and that is a peace lily. Uh, maybe you need to make peace in your relationship, but a peace lily is a great Valentine's Day gift. But if we want to stay kind of in the same plant family and go even more down the road of Valentine's Day, check out Anthurium. So, Anthurium, it is like the perfect Valentine's Day gift because it has these heart-shaped blooms. Which really, it's not a bloom. With peace lily and Anthurium, the bloom is actually a modified leaf. So the actual bloom part on these is the little yellow. My finger's going off the screen there. The little yellow bit that sticks up. That's the bloom. So the red part is actually a modified leaf, but they're heart shaped. And I have an Anthurium that I got my wife probably, I would say, 4 or 5 years ago for Valentine's Day. And it's still alive. We have it potted up. It's sitting on our kitchen counter in front of a window where it gets just the right amount of light that it likes. And that little dude's happy, and it just produces a few blooms every month. The blooms usually last a few months on it, so it'll put up one and it'll last for a few months, and then it kind of withers and dies, and then you just kind of have to pluck it off, and then a new shoot will come up and it'll produce another bloom. And I think last year about this time on Bob's Live, if you go back and check older episodes, I repotted that Anthurium in an episode. So check out Anthuriums for Valentine's Day, and you can usually find them either at a garden center or at a florist or different places like that this time of year. And of course, the last house plant that I have that makes a great Valentine's Day gift is the one plant that's, well, really a whole bunch of plants. But it's kind of a craze right now, and that is succulents. So there's a huge variety of succulents. You can't go wrong with them. And they're also really hard to kill. So if your significant other doesn't have a particularly green thumb, succulents make a great choice as a Valentine's Day gift because they're pretty easy to care for. As long as you give them water about once a week or so, um, they should be okay. As long as they're originally planted properly and have good drainage, um, they're pretty easy to take care of. So those also make a great Valentine's Day choice. And well, these are all of the options that I came up with. And if you have any ideas for rose alternatives for Valentine's Day, go ahead and put it in the comments. So, guys, sometimes we can't take a hint. So, yeah, help a guy out and give your suggestions for rose alternatives. Or if you do like roses, what are your favorite types of roses? Um, and I'm having a little bit of a brain fart right now because I was just trying to remember the variety of rose that we used at our wedding. But that's been almost 8 years ago, so I can't think of it right now. I know it was pink. It was like Osaka pink or something like that. Ugh, I'm gonna have to look it up. Okay, Donna Finkel in the comments. She says African violets. And yeah, I was going to add those to the list, but I was trying to shoot for, with the house plants, stuff that's a little bit easier to care for. African violets, they're beautiful and they make a beautiful house plant, but they can be a little bit temperamental when it comes to caring for them. They're kind of picky on their light needs and also on watering. My mother, she could grow African violets like crazy. She had a ton of them in her kitchen window. Me, I've never been able to grow them. I think it's like orchids. Again, they're another one. I included them because there's some newer varieties that are they're easier to care for. But long term, orchids can be a little bit temperamental to care for also. Um, but with orchids and African violets, I like to say that you need to kill about 20 of them before you figure out how to care for them. Um, but yeah, that could be a little bit tough to care for. But again, those are a great option. um, well, that is all that I have for this week's episode of Bob's Live. And next week, we're going to get past Valentine's Day, and then we're going to start looking at more home, sort of indoor gardening. So I've had a remodeling project going on at my house over the last month, so it's sort of messed up my schedule because some of the stuff that I had planned I needed to do at the house. Uh, but the area where I needed to film was a construction zone. And it still somewhat is, but we'll work around that. And, well, until next time, keep growing.